being that it's now 3 o'clock, welcome everybody. We appreciate you being here for the June well, it's June, now that we're July 1st, but it is the June meeting for the Historic Preservation Commission of the City of Lynchburg. Thank you for being here. The first item that we have to cover is our consent agenda from the May meeting. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve?
I would.
So moved.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
We'll show that that passes, and we can immediately get into our lengthy agenda of new business. When we call an address, if a representative is here from that address, please come up to the table here, state your name and your residential address for the record, and then we can start discussing or have some feedback from you regarding your COA, and then we'll open for discussion. So thank you all for being here today. And first up, we have 1023 Jackson Street.
My name is Brian Westfeld, and I live at 1023 Jackson Street.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you. What we'd like to do is the chimney on the 11th Street side of the house. During home inspection, it was noted, and you can see that the top of it is long ago I had improper repair done on it. But you can't see actual brick damage up in the attic. But also from the outside, you can see the patchwork that was done on it from the front and from the 11th Street side. I had Mason come and look at it from SMR, and he said basically what needs to get done is it needs to get taken down below the roof line where all the repair is gone or moved out. And then he has matching brick with the proper mortar and everything, and he will rebuild it back up to match the chimney on the other side.
Excellent. Pretty straightforward. How far down on that picture right there?
Right where the arrow goes.
Right to the arrow. Okay.
I move acceptance or approval of the application to COA.
Is there a second? Second. Any further questions, comments, or concerns regarding this one? It's quite straightforward. And,
It's an improvement.
oh, most definitely.
Thank you.
Yeah, very good. All those in favor?
Aye.
Hearing none opposed, we'll show it passes. Best of luck. Thank you so much. Next up is 2319 Rivermont Avenue.
So I'm Grady Powers, 2319 Rivermont.
Go right ahead.
Yeah, principally wanted to replace all the decking boards that are on the current deck with Trex light color. It's deck has been there probably, I'd say 10 plus years. Is relatively good shape structurally, but the decking boards have had multiple treatments of pressure washing and staining and so forth. So basically update some of the posts and elements that are not quite as in shape as they used to be, primarily the horizontal surfaces. Retaining the vertical surfaces for the guardrails and installing a drop beam as a new support rather than trying to replace the existing supports that are there, which were originally 4x4 posts. And then restaining the whole thing to light color, which there's a picture there, and then I think there's also a picture of the Trex representative Trex on that shot. Look, get right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's the color match to that, same color.
Back to the site plan, please. Yes.
Anyone would like to make a motion on this one?
I make a motion to approve accept as submitted.
Second.
Any further questions, comments, or concerns? No. Hearing none, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, good to go. Thank you.
Thank
Very
you.
thorough. We appreciate all that information. Thank you so much. Next up, 1456 Rivermont Avenue. Good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Stephen Dawson, and I live at 1456 Rivermont. And we want to install a wrought iron handrail. Currently, there's no handrail at all on the steps. And this is a prototype of what we have in mind. We have just 2 concrete steps up to the porch. My parents are 80 years old, so this has been the handrail.
Yes.
So but we'd like something more sturdy, and then something that fits the house as well.
Certainly.
So the previous photo has the prototype that we want to use.
Is white the color you intend to leave it, or do you know what color you would have it?
We're thinking about white. If we would want something that would sort of fit the color scheme.
Sure. Just wanted clarity.
Yeah, I believe we're getting this from a local iron worker, and when he delivers it, it'll have 3 coats of prime on it, and then we can paint it white. We can paint it, a color in keeping with the color scheme of the house.
It would seem to make sense with the
Yeah.
railings and the.
Yeah.
Are you doing just one on one side or both sides?
We were thinking of doing it just one side.
One side.
Yeah.
And it's just installed directly into the step?
Yes.
I move approval.
I'll second.
Any other questions, comments, or concerns regarding this one? Hearing none, we can call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, good.
Okay.
Make it
Thank you.
safe.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Enjoy your weekend.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
Next up is 850 Rivermont Avenue.
Is that Diane Anderson? Hello, I'm Diane Anderson. I live at 850 Rivermont. So what I'd like to do is, I've done extensive landscaping since I bought the house last year. Torn out bushes and just made gardens in the front. I'm on a corner lot, so I'm at Rivermont and Victoria. So because I have a pie-shaped lot, with all my gardens, there's not, and you can't see it in that picture, but to the left, there's an awful lot of open free space and a big tree. Not a lot of privacy. So one of the things that I'd like to do between my house and the house next to me is do a privacy fence. Right now, so I had the land surveyed when I first bought the property, and unfortunately there's a shared tree line between my neighbor and myself, so I'm going to give up about 2 feet of my property just to have the privacy fence on my side of the trees. The secondary reason, not only that I want to have a buildable outside space and work on beautifying that so I can have friends and privacy, but there's 2 pit bulls on that property that are they're just under the I guess, the law, I guess if you would say, with being, if it's too hot, they take them in, but the pit bulls are barking all the time, and, it's hard for me to have an outdoor living space without that privacy fence. The second piece is the paint on the home when I bought it was probably about 20 years old. I had it power washed, and to no avail. It's still dingy white, as you can see in the picture. So I really want to, just to maintain, kind of the aesthetic, I'd like to paint it gray with white and black accents. When I say black, the only thing that would be black is my door, my porch, and then some of the trim on the railing. But it would be predominantly like a slate gray with white trim. And all the windows will stay the same.
When you say the porch, you're talking the floor, the surface?
Floor, door. So that would be the only thing that would be black. The rest, the stairs, as you can see, are a combination of wood and concrete. Halfway down is concrete, so I would just paint the stairs black with the door and the porch, and then the rest would be the white and the gray trim.
How far forward would the fence come?
So, I don't know if you can tell in the picture of the white home, but there's a very large shady tree about 3 feet from the property line in the front.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go up about 6 feet from the property line because it is a very steep berm. So you can't, this is not a good picture with the landscaping, but I have all the landscaping up to the property line. And so the fence would be at the top of the berm, just going straight back to the back of the property. It's about 60 linear feet.
The only concern is from a zoning standpoint, that there's some requirements of 4 foot versus 6 foot and where it comes past the face of the house.
Yep, so for that, the fence may only be 6 feet tall from the front wall of the house back.
That's what
And then in front of that, it would have to move down to 4 feet.
that's what I remember.
So I can do that. So the quote I have right now, and the local gentleman that was Barrett Fence, quoted me 6 feet all the way across. But the reason he said 6 feet is because he's going to go up to where the tree ends, so it's where the property starts leveling off. Otherwise, I'd have to build a 4-foot fence on the berm, and it just doesn't seem that that would be advantageous.
So basically, it could be 6, right to where it matches the face of your house,
Exactly,
and then it drops down to 4. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah,
Because I don't want to disrupt the stately trees.
Yeah, exactly.
Great. Anyone like to make a motion regarding this one? If you want to break it into paint and fence, you can separate the two if you like.
Would you say the paint colors again? I've got the black for the porch, but the other color?
Gray, so see the gray on the far right?
Okay.
So that would be the body of the home. And that cement white color will be the trim, so all the windows, all the railings on the fence. So I think just to make it clear, it's not going to be black spindles and white. No, it's just going to be all white. The only black is going to be on the door, the floor, and the stairs. I thought it would look too choppy if I did black on the spindles. So it'll be one contiguous white.
As evidenced in that
Correct.
picture, the example there.
Correct.
Okay, sure.
Different style, but representative of the scheme.
Right.
Eve, I have a question. It's for clarification. When I go to the first page of this application where you cite, there's a paragraph on fences. Maybe I'm interpreting this incorrectly. I thought that it's saying it can't be more than 6 feet from the middle of the house forward.
No, from the front wall.
Okay. Privacy fence of this height should be at least halfway back from the front to the back walls.
Well, from the front wall is for zoning, but this is from the design guidelines.
Okay.
I think that's what I always said in the past. It's the
Okay.
front, the front face of the house.
Thank you.
So the guidelines contradicting what zoning is saying, or?
Maybe
Because I
just,
interpreted it the same way that you did.
I
with the
think
guidelines versus-
when we've had that come up in the past, it's if the fence is attached to the house, correct? If it's attached, if it comes 90 degrees off the side of the house, then it has to be at that low level and behind the, or I mean, if it's further up than 50% of the house, then it needs to be the low side. Is that correct? This is just standalone out away from the house?
I'm not sure of that fact, but I think this standalone, it does meet to the face, front face.
Okay. I'm not challenging it, I was looking to
Clarification.
understand. Right.
I move to approve as submitted both the fence and the colors.
I second.
So
So I just have sorry.
Yes, please.
Oh, I was just having a question about the paint colors. So there was a section that, just on our information, that had
for paint, I guess this could be considered colonial revival style, and it's saying very much like light paint colors. So it does say light gray. I don't know if this would be considered light gray or not. I guess just, it's kind of on the border, I mean.
Yeah, I think it's,
but you-
from an architectural standpoint,
Yeah.
I'm
You
comfortable
consider that
with
light
it.
gray?
You know.
Okay.
I think the nice thing, it'll really help
Yeah.
the trim pop.
Yeah, absolutely, and there is
Sure,
beautiful
light
trim
color.
on that house,
Yeah,
so.
it'll work well.
And I think it is light.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's like,
Okay.
Now we can call it dark.
yeah.
Okay.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions, comments, or concerns?
So it is sorry, back to the fence, it is gonna be 4 feet on the street? Is that what we're saying?
When it comes past the face of the house,
Past the
it'll
face
go
of the
down.
house. Okay,
Mhm.
okay. And then back to 6 feet along Victoria Ave, or 4 feet along Victoria as well?
It's just on the side.
It's just on the side.
Yeah.
The dark line is just the property.
Okay,
Yeah. just
okay,
a
so it's
straight
not a
line.
closed-in fence?
No.
Okay, I understand.
Just dividing between the properties, and just for your information, it's that there's the berm. The steep berm is only in the front of the house.
Mhm.
When it ends, like right before the Victoria
It's a
Street.
level- Like kind of level tapers out, right?
Yes,
Mhm,
yes.
Okay. Thanks.
Great.
Those are all my questions.
Excellent. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
No? Very good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your being here.
Thank you.
Next up is 905 Federal Street.
My name is Shirley Thomas, and I put in to paint my house black with a white trim, the porch gray, and the pillows yellow.
Would anyone like to make a motion on this, or?
I guess I just want to make sure
Discussion.
I'm hearing you correctly. So the body of the house, the majority of the house, you want to paint black?
Yes, I was looking at an improvement show on television, and where these professionals get old houses in the 18th, 19th century, they fix them up. And when they fixed this 1800 house up, they had painted black. And I said, well, oh, that's a historic house. So I goes out to Ace to see if the historic, black is in the historic, and it was.
I don't know. I only know black is black. I don't know historic black.
Well, Benjamin Moore
Yeah.
have
Part of the
historic
color
colors.
line, yeah.
Okay.
And in the historic color, it has black as a historic color.
Okay.
I think the problem I have with the black is that it's not appropriate for this style of house. It may be a historic color, but it's not a historic color for the style of
American
house
Foursquare.
that you have.
Well, this show that I looked at, they had professionals, historic people to come there and approve, and
Sure.
that was approved.
So we have guidelines that we're governed by, or that guide us, right? That's why they're guidelines. And that's what my fellow commissioner is referencing. I think it's on the screen as well. The second paragraph where it indicates or suggests colors for this style of house. And they all have the word light in them, except for yellow, which is obviously a long way away on the spectrum from black.
And most of our guidelines mimic what are handed down by the national historical guidelines as well. So we're not far off from where we
list
are.
of all the pieces and parts.
Mhm.
There.
So with regard to having seen work done on a show on a historical house, it's possible that that older home or historic house might not have been in a historical, a neighborhood that's
It was historic.
right, but it might not have been in a neighborhood that's
Historic district.
in a historic district.
Well, the historic person was there and gave them direction of what they want done.
Right.
And when they completed it, I mean, he loved it.
Oh, I'm sure,
Yeah.
I'm sure it probably looked wonderful. We're just, as far as a body, our preference could be, personally, we may think that's a fabulous idea for this house, but we can't take our personal preferences into how we rule on here. So we're kind of bound by what the guidelines are set, essentially. With some leeway, of course, in some cases, but all signs are pointing to not necessarily falling in line with what you're proposing in this regard. Do you have any other thoughts or preferences that you may want?
That's what I wanted, and it was approved and by the historic professionals, and so it's a show that comes on TV. I mean, they are professionals, that they do all that.
Ma'am, with respect, we have to follow the guidelines for Lynchburg and where we live and where this house is. And so, again, it may have looked wonderful, I didn't see it, but we can't follow what was on a TV show. We have to follow the guidelines set for us.
I hear the comments, I understand the guidelines, I love it in terms of being an anomaly and making a district have
Right.
big-time character. So I mean, I'm gonna say I would like to see it as something that helps us understand that there are a range of taste in terms of color. I know in historic tax credit projects, color is usually seen by reviewers as something that's easily changed as opposed to sticking, changing the finish, from siding to metal or something like that. I hear every one of the guidelines say,
Point duly noted.
and I understand and agree that the guidelines say. I think you all have heard me on multiple occasions in the past in terms of color discussions. We say it's a light gray. I think defining light gray has a lot of nuance in it. And I think there are times that the guidelines talk about certain colors in certain project, characters of house, styles of house, that I think one can go across the country and find variables that are bright blue. We approved a bright blue recently that if one looked at the guidelines, the term blue was probably more light blue, and I think the envelope was pushed a little bit on that. So, I mean, I'm gonna vote for this. I understand if you don't, but I hope you hear the sometimes pushing the envelope of color is so darn important, so that we don't, and I'll get on a little soapbox, the National Main Street program that one sees in downtowns has become so sameness applied that one can walk into Lynchburg, to Winchester, Virginia, to some town in Idaho and find the exact same light post, the exact same bench, and the exact same trash can. And back in the day of the historic world, a local material would have been used, and there would be much more nuance of the locality. And I guess in terms of color, I perceive it in the same way, in that guidelines are great, and there's a place for everything, and I just personally like to see the color envelope pushed a little bit. You know, if we walk down the street and every house is white and trim and white and this, it becomes a bit of a sameness, and the one that has a little bit of smile to it is always enjoyable for me.
So would you say that you feel like as commissioners, we have a little bit of flexibility in terms of color, maybe more so than material?
For me, yes, color, I think materiality, again, if somebody came in and said, I'm gonna pull my lap siding from 1880 off and I'm gonna put up 5V metal 10, no, the guidelines are very clear on that and very good on that. But color, I mean, name right, if Ms. Thomas sells the house after painting it black and next month the new owner comes in and goes, oh my God, what was she thinking? I'm gonna change my house back to white because it's more appropriate for the historic district, nothing has been lost. And color for me is kind of the one animal in the guidelines that is a Eve sitting there looking down.
My struggle is it's such a deviation from what's being suggested, though. And again, you know, we all have opinions, but that's mine, is it's so far from what's suggested or recommended.
And I don't think it goes with the neighborhood.
If you go down Ford Avenue.
It's not a historic
3
district.
Yeah, I know, but there are 3 businesses that already paint their business black. And as I was coming here, I was coming down 12th Street and Main Street, and there's a business right on the corner had painted their business black. And on Memorial Avenue, there's a business that had painted their business gray with black roof, and also Wendy's.
Again, respectfully, none of those are in a historic district, so they can do what they like, basically.
But I was just making a statement that
It's more on trend.
black is a warm color, and it's also a color that more like a soda, you know, color that warms your house, hold heat into your home. And I don't see anything wrong with it. I think it's
Can you pull the color squares back up? I hear you. And
Sorry.
I fully understand you, and I fully am comfortable with what you're saying.
I make a motion to deny the application.
I'll second that.
Is this for all of the colors or just the black or the scheme?
Well, I think we would need to see this whole
Scheme together.
scheme. The other colors are fine with me right now, but
What is the, I knew the white, I knew the yellow, I knew the darker, which looks more like charcoal than black to me, but what is the top right-hand color?
that's yellow.
No, the top right, the gray.
Shaker gray.
Oh,
The porch.
the porch
Oh,
is
okay,
gray.
that's it, the porch, okay.
So the bottom right here, that's what we're calling black?
Yeah.
Am I,
Yes.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's more, less than black
It's
to me,
charcoal.
but- Right,
It's
right.
not even charcoal, I mean, I'm trying to envision a charcoal briquette, but it's actually darker than that color even.
And in the daylight, it's like pitch blackness. It's not gonna be the color of the TV.
Right, right.
So I think my issue, I am kind of on the fence about the whole black thing. I definitely sympathize with what Emmett is saying, and that doesn't look like black to me. I think the yellow, combination with the yellow is throwing me off a little bit. Just, I'm trying to visualize that
Yellow
with
columns.
the yellow columns against the charcoal or whatever we're calling that color. That's throwing me off a bit. So the scheme together, I think I'm in
That is a
question.
bit, that's a bit more jumpy.
Yeah. So, but
It would get your attention.
Could you live with white columns instead of yellow columns, with the house being the 1596 color?
Well, you said just eliminate the yellow poles
And
and
have
put
them
the
white.
white?
And have them white, yes, ma'am.
Yes.
What about using that yellow color on the door?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about.
Yeah, yellow on the door
Put
would
the
be,
yellow poles and paint the door yellow. And then right in the front, paint, right there in the front, paint that yellow. That will match the pole. And then paint the door yellow.
I would be, personally, I would be more amenable, I think it would be more fitting if the poles and all the trim were in the white color and a single yellow door to pop off
Do we
that
need,
color palette.
do we need to,
Someone would have to
kill the last-
rescind, and
and then we could
If-
make,
in light of this discussion, someone would need to rescind their motion.
I'll rescind, but I'm probably still gonna vote.
Understood.
I think that color is not appropriate for the neighborhood.
Would someone like to make a new motion?
sure. I'll make a new motion if it's agreeable for the black, as she was calling it, but the charcoal as we're saying for the main color, and then just the yellow on the door with white trim.
Yes.
And then also the porch was a different color. Was
Which
that
is
like a
gray.
little bit lighter gray?
Yeah.
Was the porch.
The porch.
it's the porch floor.
Floor, right. Porch
Okay,
floor.
and how about on the stairs, that part as well, gray, where it's
The
dark currently?
risers.
The risers, yeah. Okay.
Anyone like to second that motion?
I would.
Any further comments, questions for clarification?
It's much more, in my opinion, palatable, the gray tone versus black. Again, my opinion. Yeah.
I mean, if it's that, if that, go to the color thing chart, if that 1596, if we're seeing it representative, it's got a little more tonal to gray than
Right.
pure black.
Agreed.
Yes.
I think, Ms. Thomas, that's what, it's hopefully
What
you
you talking
understand
about,
that.
the one at the bottom, that is acceptable?
Yes,
Then
ma'am.
the dark black?
If it's a really dark gray as opposed to an absolute black.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But we need to vote
Right.
on it, but that's what we proposed is a little bit of changes to the color scheme, but you would keep that 1596 that you want on the walls, white trim, yellow door, and the gray on the porch, correct?
Yeah.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Would there be any follow-up questions or comments before a vote?
I don't want to beat a dead horse here. I just want to make sure we're on the same page, ma'am. So because you were using the word black, and to me, that's not black, but you are saying the bottom
Yeah,
right-hand
yeah,
square is
yeah,
what you want to
yeah.
do. Okay.
Realize we've got a scan.
Sure,
And
sure,
and a picture of a scan.
sure. No, I get it, yeah. I'm with you. Thank you.
All right.
Dark lines in the middle color.
Please go ahead. We can call for a vote. All those in favor of the motion as it stands?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Let it show that it has passed.
As written, as opposed to
Right.
admittedly originally
Exactly.
submitted.
Correct. The motion has passed.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Thomas, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you for helping us understand
Yes,
as well.
indeed. Next up, 1003 Rivermont Avenue.
Yeah.
Not hitting you.
Just keep out of reach. Hello there.
Maybe later.
I'm Susan Sherwood, and my address is 708 Chimney Place.
Thank you for being here.
And I don't even remember when, but at some point I had a contractor I asked to repair some stairs on the house on Rivermont Avenue, and he altered them. And other than being mad at the contractor, I really didn't think about it after that. So they've been done without a COA approved. The good thing is that they're safe and secure. Before, they were rested on stones. So that's what I have there. The house has been sold, so I don't currently own it.
Oh,
The stairs and the post that the railing is attached to have been administratively approved, with the inclusion of painting them. The only thing that you are looking at is that railing and then the concrete slab.
Gotcha.
So just right off the bat, the railing is
It's a shower bar.
unacceptable.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
It's a shower bar.
handheld.
And so our ruling today applies to the new owner?
So this is a little tricky. I'm not quite sure how we're gonna proceed, but
Yeah.
well, let's make a decision and then we can try and.
So the posts that are on the front stairs are, well, maybe you've approved it, so I can't address it, but is that wood?
No, that's wrought iron.
And those were existing. It's just
Right.
the side, yeah.
And so the post and the stairs are approved, we're just approving or we're deciding upon, again, the
The concrete
concrete,
and the handrail.
which I
Right.
personally don't have an issue with. It's much safer than stepping into the yard or on rickety rocks.
Yeah.
And then the post is good, but then the rail, we just need to approve a proper rail. Am I understanding that correctly?
So are there any materials being presented for the replacement rail?
No, I don't know what to do with it. I'll do whatever needs to be done with it.
yeah. I mean, literally, it's a shower.
Yeah.
I
Grab
think
it.
it is.
It need to be an iron.
Yeah.
I think just a black iron bar that mimics the
Yeah.
stand rail, that's,
Okay.
would be easy
So
enough.
not wood.
So
So
with or
It's just
without the
heavier,
spindles?
don't you? 'Cause it's gonna be, you assume.
If it's wrought iron and has the appropriate brackets on there, I think it would be
Think
sturdy enough.
And that's what.
The old one
yeah,
cracks me up,
what
and that's
was
like
there.
4 feet beyond the end of the
Yeah.
stairs.
Yeah.
Yeah, and those were interior bar or something.
And so Eve, you're saying the steps have been administratively approved to be painted?
Yeah, well, the reconstruction and then the painting was included with the
Okay,
approval.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I make a motion to reject or deny the handrail. There's nothing being teed up for me to approve, but what's there is inappropriate in my opinion.
I'll second that.
Correct me if I'm wrong, or, Beeve, can we, even with, whether it's the previous owner or the new owner is not bringing us a material to bring, or not bringing us a material to approve, can we not just say, put something in place that matches?
You could, yeah. You could include that if you
Would you
wanted
be
to.
comfortable doing that, or you'd rather
It
see
just
it?
leaves a lot to interpretation. I mean, that's kind of vague.
It's
We've
almost
gotten in
a
trouble
table.
with that.
It's almost a table it until we see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is the post
Agreed.
being painted as well?
Did you pull your?
Yeah, that was included with the.
Okay.
So I'll rescind if we want to just table this until an alternative is provided for us to review.
And are you saying wrought iron would be acceptable?
It may be, if, I mean,
Or
depending
it
on
might
what it
be-
looked
it might
like.
be
If
appropriate.
it matched if it matches or is similar to what's there, then I think that would be appropriate.
As close as
And
possible
wood
to
would
that.
not be appropriate?
I can't, I guess I would have to see the wood. A 2x4 would not be appropriate, but I don't know what you're suggesting.
I don't know.
That's why I can't approve it, because
It would seem like, you see houses with the top rail as wood on pickets.
Right.
This doesn't have that, so it would not seem to be appropriate. It would seem to be more appropriate for something that is iron or wrought iron that's going to match the black of the existing.
Yeah, and
Okay.
ideally, if if this had been done beforehand or brought to us beforehand, we would have just basically recommended a continuation of the fence that goes all the way across, turns into a rail that goes down the steps. No wooden post, no, just, it's a continuation on the other side of the actual porch post. But I don't think you have any issues with the concrete
No.
base, the landing.
I hope the stairs get painted to match the porch.
It's got like a
Can't do it.
stamp texture on it. I don't know that, but for this, it's just-
Yeah.
Mhm.
So tabled, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, but was there, we need to move on tabling it. Did you do that?
I'll make a motion to
Okay.
table this application until we have materials submitted to review.
Are you tabling the whole thing or just the rail?
I'm sorry, yes, thank you. And I make a motion to approve the concrete as submitted.
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hearing none opposed, so that's what we're looking at now. So I guess it's, even, I don't know how you wanted to work that out.
So will you be bringing back an alternative railing or?
Think so?
Okay, so, I'll email you with the approval, and we can work that out.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next up is 911 Rivermont Avenue. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Welcome back.
Thanks.
Oh, just state your name and residential address.
Oh, yes. My name is Jacqueline Jr. Linus. I'm the owner of the property on 911 Rivermont Avenue.
And so this is what we're looking at today is just these
Yes,
two items.
as you know, whenever it's nighttime on Rivermont, it's pretty dark, and the house is literally sitting by itself in the corner, and the yard is very, very dark. And my wife and I, we have decided to put 2 post light in the yard. They're gonna look like that, and we wanted to know if it's something that can be approved by the Historical Society.
And the second part of the COA is regarding paving that back drive area.
Yes.
Is kind of the darker path that we see, or is that overall?
Just the darker part.
Okay.
We wanted to know if it's something that you guys can approve, so we can put asphalt.
When you say paved, does that mean asphalt, just
Yes.
for my clarity?
Yes.
Can you go back to the picture with the yard where the light post was proposed, the other photo? So, the black pole, line, is that where you're proposing to put it?
Yes.
Because I know that the conduit is run where that box is sticking out of the ground,
Oh, actually, yeah, that's exactly where it's supposed to be. Where you see the
where the electrical
Over here.
Yes.
line is.
yes.
So there's two, where's the second one? One on the base of this blue location?
Yeah, the blue location. That's
Where's the
exactly
second one?
On the other side.
on
of
the other
house.
side of the house.
Ah, okay.
And there's a base on that side as well, that's already set up?
Yes, we
Yeah.
already set up the base.
Okay. You would like to make a motion?
I think these are a bit more ornate than the simple house speaks to. And this is kind of super frilly and really over the top Victorian.
Thinking more of just a singular lamp post with multiple bulbs inside?
Yeah.
Or a light single fixture
A more
with,
simple head or something that's not quite as.
I know you've already, well, it sounds like you've already ran the electrical. Did you consider like motion lights or floodlights off the eave of your house versus poles?
Yeah,
Something that
they-
shines down?
Actually, we already bought them. We bought them a couple months ago from Amazon. They're all motion light just because, you know.
Yeah, I'm referring more to the direction of the light, though. You sit up on a hill, you're coming up Rivermont, that's kind of, you got a light pole in your face, shining out, not down. I'm just asking if you considered other options
Like mounted
that would
onto the
still
house.
illuminate your yard, but not, yeah.
The thing is, they look big and tall. They really not tall. They only 6 foot tall. You see what I'm saying? They not like very big and tall lights. They are pretty like normal size. They like 6 foot tall, which means it's not something that's. It's only maybe not nighttime whenever it's the yard is lit. That's the only time we're probably gonna see it. But
Usually I see these around a driveway or a sidewalk or something not in, to me, it looks like in the middle of the yard.
you know, the reason why where we place them, it's nowhere where cars gonna be. None of that. This side of the yard, they just a piece of land. We don't.
Right, I guess that's what I'm struggling with, is you're lighting up an area that won't be used or occupied, or, yeah.
It's just because this side, it's very dark. My wife and I and my daughter, we were going to move in the apartment. We wanted, like...
I'm okay with where they are.
Yeah.
From a, you know, you hear something, you want to see what's in the yard. I think from
Yes.
the location seems to be all right, because the guidelines are saying front yard to illuminate are acceptable. Floodlights should be mounted to the rear or sides rather than the front. So these are to the side. So I think in terms of location, I'm pretty comfortable with them. I just think the type of fixture that you're showing is more appropriate for a very ornate, the house that we saw a couple of back, that all the frill work and everything on it. Your house is very simple and plain, and these lights are kind of over the top. You know, it's a big gaudy piece of jewelry on a very simple house.
Sidewalks and front
If you
yard.
could find,
It's a side yard.
I would vote to approve the location. I'd just like to see the light itself less ornate.
What do you think, like... You think they look a little bit modern? Because the way... I choose them on, like...
No, not so much that they're modern. They're a different style than your house is. They would be sort of appropriate for a very frilly Victorian house with a lot of detail and scroll work and different colors and things. It's just, I mean, those two, the one in the middle and on the right are more craftsman that it's talking about. I think, you know, just a simple globe like on the left would be more appropriate. Something that's just a little quieter visually, if you will, I think is what we're talking about.
Yeah, the thing is, you probably, like, if you see the light, they really not the way that you... They're pretty small, you see what I'm saying? And
It's not so much their size or the amount of light that's coming out of them. It's the style of the fixture itself is just not appropriate for, your house is done so nicely, and it's the one body color and the one trim and very simple, and everything is very plain on the house, but very well done. And this is just a big old look at me kind of thing that's not quite appropriate for that style of house.
Yeah, because I choose this based. We chose the light based on historical style, and then we are in the historical society.
It is a historical light, but it's just the wrong style of historical is the problem.
More simplified.
And you know, the guidelines say that for front yards, there should be small footlights rather than post-mounted fixtures.
But that's walkways.
That's for walkways.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a walkway. And we've done that before on, you know, along driveways and things. But this is more lighting the yard. So, you know, you hear the dog barking, you want to see who's out in the yard, you know, kind of thing. Like I said, I'm okay with where they are. It's just that.
I wanted to follow up with a question that was asked before. I don't think I heard the answer in terms of, have you explored floodlights like that automatically come on and shine out to the side yards or anything in that regard?
You mean mounted right on the house?
Yeah,
Under the eaves?
yeah.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
great
we
question
really-
for him.
we
I
really
would think
don't-
that would be more shining out into,
More
or have more propensity to hit out to the street, as opposed to something that's just off the side of the house.
Especially considering if you look at this photo of the side of the house, there are trees blocking between the light and the house. So even if it is lighting up the yard, you're not really gonna see the area that's lit up because of the trees,
Like-
so.
A spotlight, you're saying?
Well, I'm saying if, it would make more sense to mount it on the house if you want to see the side of the house, because there's trees are obstructing the view to the lamppost. So that's kind
It's much
of,
less
just for
than-
functionality, it doesn't seem like that's really going to do what you want it to do. But that's just a thought.
I mean, if you were to say, come out just for a scenario purpose, if you were standing on that front porch and looking underneath that puts you probably, what, 8 feet off the ground?
The picture makes it
Underneath
look a
that
lot
branch
further
to a
than
light
it
that's-
is. It's not that far from the house, and
It's
then the
illuminating
light.
that corner.
I'm still stuck on the paragraph in the guidelines. Residential design review guidelines state that lighting for security, such as floodlights, is for security, should be mounted to the rear or sides of the building rather than the front. And then the next sentence goes on, or the third sentence says that we should abstain from post-mounted fixtures. I know there's occasions where we've done that by a sidewalk or by a driveway. If this is for security purposes, which I think is what I'm hearing, it's suggested or steering us to mounted lights, like on the side of the house, on the eave, something like that, versus a pole in the middle of the yard.
No, which means the pole is not approved by the historical society, right?
That's my interpretation of these guidelines.
Yeah, that would be mine as well.
And remember, we went round and round
With another one, but it was by a sidewalk and a driveway.
Yeah, because that's what I was saying. I saw posts in the historical society. That's why we chose, like,
Well, some of them have been there, like, I'll be honest, there's one in my yard, but it was there before it was a historic district.
The only thing that takes me away from that, I understand exactly what you're saying as far as floodlights for security should be mounted on the sides of buildings. I don't consider this application a floodlight. It's more an
But
area,
it's for
area light.
security. It's a light for security.
Yeah. I think it's still security because
Exactly.
it gives light to the yard. You see what I'm saying? If I heard something in my yard, I just peek in the window. I can see what's going on in the yard. I did, like, because it's so dark when you get. I understand putting the light on the side of the house, drill holes in the house, and the siding and everything. But I really think in my head, light is light. We just need to to make sure that we have good security. If something happens in the yard, we can see what's going on.
But I think what Mr. Urquianca is saying is that you get more lighting for security.
Or coverage, for sure.
From lights mounted to your house. Is that right?
That's right. If you mounted them at the eaves under the roof line.
Yeah.
Well, in most instances, I would say yes. In this case, based on where the house is and those trees across that side of the yard, it seems to me if you mounted a spotlight or a floodlight all the way up in that eave, all of this area over here that he actually has the light on would be obscured by that tree. So it would cast a big shadow, possibly.
Perhaps. We could probably debate this for a while. He's got a plant berm around it and a fence around the back. So to get to that area, you're hopping something or
Right.
walking through the other side of the yard.
Right.
Is it, and it's motion censored?
Yes.
Yeah, and there is a lot of foot traffic right there. There's a bus stop out front of that house, so it's gonna be going off a lot. But
It's not that close from the street for bus and.
Well, as long as it has a sensitivity adjustment, you can probably make it away from having a car every moment turning on, but, we need to break this one into two pieces, one for the driveway and then one for lights.
I guess it depends on who's making the motion.
Oh, that's true.
I would make a motion to deny both. Blacktop, asphalt's not permitted, and light posts are highly discouraged.
I second it.
You would like to make further comments, questions, concerns?
Was there any other material you had considered for paving?
Yeah, for the paving, it's not a problem. We can always put, yeah.
That's why I asked this specifically, if it said paved, and I asked, does that imply asphalt? That's why I asked.
But you're saying it did imply that, but you're open to other options?
Yes,
You
I'm
have
open to other options for the pavement, but I think the light, I don't know exactly. I think the light, it's all about preferences from what I've like put in places, you see what I'm saying? But this is what we already got, and then we already spent a lot of money on it, and then if you guys can consider it, that would be helpful, I think.
Because you have those
Unfortunately,
two.
that's the result of not applying for a COA prior to making that purchase. It's not really anything we can do, unfortunately, about that, other than we empathize with the
No,
money
what I'm
spent.
saying, from what I've heard, it's all about preferences now, you see, where I should
For
put
the
it. on that.
HPC or
No, we're
for guidelines?
We're
We don't-
referencing the guidelines.
We're referencing guidelines, yeah.
Yeah, so when he's talking about the style of light towards the style of house, it's not just his preference, the guidelines guide him to say that, yeah. If there were to be something, it should be in keeping with the style of your particular house, not necessarily just
Yeah, because
historic.
to me, it was cool because I've seen post light in the historical district before. You see what I'm saying? Society, like on the Rivermont, I've seen.
They are there, you're right, but there's different reasons why they were there. Most were there before it was a historic district, so they didn't have to be approved. Anything that goes in after it was made a historic district in the late 80s has to be approved. You'll see vinyl siding, you'll see asphalt roof shingles, you'll see all of that because it was done before it was a historic district.
Would you like to amend your motion to include the alternate?
I would need to know what I was approving.
Material for the.
For the driveway, I would need to know what I was approving. I mean, respectfully, I'm not digging in my heels, I can't approve something when I don't know what it is.
Agreed.
I agree, so.
Well, are there, how many variations of that particular material would you
We
find?
talked about, the guidelines talk about river rock.
And pea gravel, right?
The applicant can always apply again with a different material.
Yeah. This application for asphalt is in rock.
Okay,
Motion on the floor.
there is, and a second. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, so it looks like there's a little bit of work to do on your part.
Is it a problem if I move the light back a little bit, like further back from the street, like, or from the face of the house?
In my opinion, it's the fact that it's a pole, and that's what's discouraged.
And it's the wrong light for the house. If we approved a pole, we wouldn't approve that,
Yeah,
so.
I would go along with the commentary about the guidelines say mounted on versus freestanding, unless it's dealing with a sidewalk or a driveway.
No. Can we make sure that he has a
Very detailed.
very detailed, well, that section of the guide, they are detailed, the guidelines are very detailed, but as long as he just has that for reference when trying to sort that out. Come up with another plan or option, as well as the brown pea gravel, river rock choices as well. Well, I guess we'll
Thank you, sir.
look forward to seeing you again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see, next up, 1021 Harrison Street.
Good afternoon. I'm James Enoch. Good to see y'all again.
Thank you.
I hope this one's a lot easier than our previous conversations that we've had. And I know there's been a lot of conversation about color. Today, I'm asking for like no color. So very opposite to what today is. We, at 1021 Harrison, we had the door reconstructed. I know we've talked about that. That poor door went through it, where if you look on the left-hand side, all of that had to be reconstructed because police Bataram decided to meet the door in a unfriendly fashion. So once we had the door reconstructed, we just didn't like the idea of covering up that $900 worth of wood to redo it. So we just want to pretty much sand all of it away. If you look on the bottom, it's already begun because there was just so much paint on it. It had been about 9 different colors, different layers of paint. So we're gonna just sand it all and make it all one color, and then put a clear coat protecting to keep it the same color and just make sure it doesn't wear down over time.
You would like to make a motion on this?
Sounds straightforward. I'll make a motion to approve this accepted.
I'll second.
That's submitted, sorry.
Yep. Any other questions or comments?
It's direct sunlight?
It does get a little, but not too much.
Just know that sunlight will eat that.
Yep, the porch luckily is still getting, it covers it enough to, what I need to protect it most is not to have a police Bataram find it again.
Good call.
I think it'll look beautiful.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you much.
Thanks, sir. We appreciate it. Next up, 1370 Rivermont Avenue.
Good afternoon.
Hello there.
I hope everybody's doing well today.
Very good, thank you.
My name is Demetrius Alexander. I was doing this project at 1370. Sam is my partner on this project, so he's in New Jersey right now.
Oh,
so I'm just filling in. And I live, I have several houses on the Rivermont side, but I live at 115 Denver Avenue.
Excellent, thank you.
And Julie, right?
Yes.
Julie has been really great through this process. She's come out several times in the early stages and been very informative with kind of helping the project progress in a fashion that's kind of desirable to everybody involved. So
great.
So I think we have this here. This was we put up a fence, and you have to forgive me. I'm kind of new to the process with the HPC. This is the first time I've sat in this seat and gone through this. So we put up a fence, and there was an existing fence already there, but we extended the existing fence. We extended along the street side, and the yellow right where it's, yellow right there where it says 4 feet, and we put 6 feet right there. I wasn't familiar with the zoning. So that 6 feet, the fence where it says in place section of fence, that was pre-existing where it meets both houses and then kind of goes up toward Early Street. And so we use the exact same style of fence as what that fence is. So I understand now that it's a zoning issue for that 4 feet, so we're happy to take that down to 4 feet on that side, on the Early Street side. And then we put in a parking where it says gravel right there. We put in there we go. So we put in gravel parking, and we did gravel. If it's necessary to change, it's not a big deal. We did that just because there's at 1358, and then at 1311, and then the next door from that, there was all new gravel put down in all of their driveways, just about 3 or 4 houses down. So we just kind of were following. I just saw that and thought, kind of followed suit. So, and the house, it's like a green cedar shake house. I'm not sure if you're familiar, at 1312 where Charlotte Street meets Rivermont Avenue, and then 1310 right next door. And then even 1358 in the back, just 3 houses down, was gravel as well. So that's kind of why we went with gravel. But and I just want to say on a different note, I wasn't here for the meeting with the lime wash, but I'm very pleased it was passed and I hope it's aesthetically pleasing to people that didn't necessarily pass it at the time. Maybe not, maybe not. But the house was really well received. We actually sold it off market already. So, and we got a very respectable price, I feel like, for what was done. We had an inspection done by somebody that does a lot of historical inspections per the buyer, and they said that it was probably one of the top 3 renovated houses that they've ever done in 50 years. So that was nice to hear.
Yeah.
So.
I'd be interested to find out more about some of those other houses in the vicinity that have a lot of fresh gravel laying around. Where that's coming from.
I didn't send an email, but I do have those addresses if I happen to. Okay.
All right. Okay, well, it's pretty straightforward. Any motions anyone would like to make?
I just have a question.
Please.
First. So I know the last time we were discussing the fence, there was an issue with the style. If there was an existing fence and he's doing the same style, is that acceptable to continue that in the new areas as well?
So the fence has already been denied at this point, and the gravel has also been denied, so I recommend that we consider the application as it's up there.
Yep.
And I wasn't able to, I think I had asked for, it was short notice, but I had asked for, I knew I wasn't able to attend the first meeting, and or the meeting regarding this approval, the initial approval or denials.
So you're saying the fence was disapproved and the gravel was disapproved. So do we need to hear alternatives? Or is that what
That's what this is.
This is alternative, so
Yes.
the alternative is to cut the top of the fence off.
Yep, that's what they proposed.
Cut it down to the
And
approved height.
replace the gravel with
Pre-gravel.
pre-gravel.
Yep.
Okay.
So I'll move approval of the COA.
Is there a second?
Curious how the process on cutting that fence, who's going to use a chainsaw and walk down the pickets, or?
We will, I really wish I was able to attend the first meeting so I could have kind of talked about those potential possibilities initially, but, it's my own absence that I wasn't here. So what we would do is pull a line from one side to the other on the side that was, that needs to be cut down. And that line would just be pulled, and then you would just follow a circular saw, basically just all the way down.
That's right.
I do, if we can.
It won't be dog-eared then.
No, it'll be straight across.
It'll be straight across.
Now, when you do that, will you put another, backing board on the inside to prevent any movement of those pickets, over time?
Yes, sir. It's like a 2x3 actually on the inside. And so what we would do is when that top one gets cut off, we'll pull it off all the top, and then we'll just literally move it to the appropriate place.
That's great.
Is it possible to pull up even the picture of the first, yes, that right
That
there.
one?
Yes, thank you. As far as the zoning requirements are concerned, again, I'm kind of new to this aspect of it. I understand the bordering the street right there. Does it apply to where it says 25 right there, the 25 feet coming off the house to Early Street? We have a gate right there, and that doesn't border the street. It's on the side of the house, just like the other side is.
That came from zoning?
Yep.
Yeah, I think I would yield to them on that answer.
Yeah, so it
hate
does
to
have
say
to be
something.
4 feet
Okay.
in that area.
And how is that written, like the code is written on that? Is it?
It's
the way
that
that
section that I sent you. I can resend it to you.
I've just read it, actually. I was just curious because the way I read it, it was just easement for bordering the street side, not on the side of the property.
So that is on the street. That section is, both sides are on the street, so that applies.
By definition.
I can pull it up if.
Yeah, I was just.
That would be, you can talk to Kevin Henry, but that's per code, that has to be 4 feet in that section.
All right, no problem. That's different. No problem.
That would necessitate you altering your gate as well. Is
Right,
that right?
exactly. Yeah,
Okay.
that's why I was
I understand.
kind of curious about that.
Yeah, as Commissioner Lipsey said, that's kind of unfortunately, that part is out of our hands as
Yes, sir.
far as, it'll have to
I
go
understand, no problem.
through Kevin, but I would definitely bring it up with him
Okay.
for discussion.
Yes, sir.
So the motion, I'll second the motion. I don't think there was one.
Yeah.
There was.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
You were such a pro.
Any
It's a while
other
ago.
questions?
Short-term memory
Clarifications?
loss. What can I say?
Hearing none, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Great, thank you guys so much.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
your time.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Enjoy the weekend.
Thank you.
Next up, we have a couple items of old business to revisit here. First up is 2108 Rivermont Avenue.
Yeah, I
Working
know.
our way up and down the road.
Almost everything was written on.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
My name is Fernita May, and I live at 189 Snowdrift Lane in Madison Heights. This is a rental property for me. Most of you, some of you weren't here, and you know I had a parking spot that existed. It I had it blacktop. It does match the other man's driveway. And then I find out I have to come to you to get all this okayed, which I didn't know. I don't know if you all watched the video that we had last month. We discussed it about probably an hour. If you need to know anything else, I would like to have the driveway there to keep it. It does match the other man's driveway, and I have permission to use his driveway from him. So that's where I am.
Thank you, Mrs. May. I think most everyone who wasn't here were encouraged, highly encouraged to review the minutes and watch that video to be caught up to speed on the subject matter. So would anyone like to make a motion based on this, or I guess we really need to have a motion on the table before we can enter into discussion, so.
I think we've just seen two applications today. Talk about asphalt and gravel, both of which were disapproved. I think that same situation has happened twice within the last 12 months, where one asphalt was installed without approval and had to be removed, and the other was a pea gravel application which was approved as submitted. I think from a consistency standpoint, that would seem to be, we just sent two people out the door with its exact discussion, the decision.
Can I say this?
Yes, ma'am.
Since that was an existing driveway, could I put down the pea gravel that is in concrete?
The pea gravel.
Like what's out in front, across the street? There's brown pea gravel, and it seems to be put in concrete.
It's a concrete with a gravel texture. It is
No.
gravel, but the gravel's floated to the top to make it look like.
Yeah, I think the guidelines are looking at loose gravel, pervious runoff and material. So yes, ma'am, pea gravel would be appropriate, but not over top of a
Would
concrete slate.
concrete be appropriate?
No, ma'am, not under, that's a solid, hard material. The guidelines are very clear on pea gravel or river rock, the loose round, free-floating.
I think they can, you're asking if
Actually
she can
does say
do
concrete.
concrete. It says they can do concrete or concrete exposed aggregate.
Are you?
That's what that is, right?
I think so.
I think so too.
concrete guy.
It's done across the street.
Right, but that's not a historic district, that's Main Street.
Not from Rivermont. I would just say this, to reiterate and try and summarize the hour we spent last time, and that is, we've exhausted every avenue that we have to have parking in the rear and other parking areas. And we have no other alternative. We had a gravel parking spot by permission off of our neighbor's drive. And that permission was revoked because of the installation of the pavement. At this point, after acting in good faith just to have permission and not mess up his pavement, we paved the parking spot. If we can put the concrete with the gravel shown on top, it would still be concrete, but it would look like gravel.
Is that what we have seen in the past?
We may not be able to do that, but even if we can do that, it may not be acceptable to the neighbor.
I don't know that we've had any proposals like that.
Not in my time. I don't recall a proposal. I just read it in the.
Not having come forward,
right.
Yeah, I'm learning that. I'm seeing that.
I think you did approve the concrete tracks.
Yeah, we did.
Recently,
we've done
but
concrete, not an
I don't know about the concrete with the gravel in it.
Right.
I think that's.
I'm not really asking for that. I'm just saying that if that was an alternative that would work, it's something that we could possibly do. But in this scenario, and in this situation, without the pavement, we're up the creek without a paddle, we have no permission.
Well, I mean,
Something.
the bottom line is there's parking on Rivermont Avenue
Yeah.
in front of the house. That's available. That's available
I
to
understand
every
that.
house on Rivermont Avenue.
You've just taken away a spot for convenience of one, also value of the home as another, also permission that may never be returned to us.
Parking on the street is available to every homeowner on
I
Rivermont
understand that.
Avenue. It's used by the majority of homeowners on Rivermont Avenue. It's a part of the historic district, and that's a not going to change item.
With the value of the home and what we use it for has gone down tremendously because of the extenuating circumstances of this parking space. Okay?
Something completely out of control and
exactly.
completely in place when you bought the house.
Yeah.
I mean,
But I
it
think
was
the
a
rent
historic.
went up there,
permission.
so I don't
We
know
had a
about
gravel
it.
parking space
Can we
that was being used.
But either way, it
Purchase
sounds
another
like it was
one.
up to your neighbor whether or not you used it, so that doesn't really
This is
apply
true.
for what we're
Right.
deciding.
Yeah, if the next door, that house, unfortunately, difficult thing is the house is non-contributing to the district, but be that as it may, the house actually technically does not have a driveway access to that parking spot. There's no curb apron, anything like that, so as much as I think it's useful, I think it obviously is helpful for residents of the house. If the owner next door said, I don't care whether it's paved in the exact same color as my asphalt, you can't drive in my driveway, to use your term, everybody would be up a creek without the paddle.
Understand.
He's giving permission, but putting his foot down about all these other odds and ends.
You know, though, I think because the house is non-contributing, that a car parked in the front stands out more because the house stands out. So,
Per that item C,
Parking in the front. Parking in the front.
yeah.
there's been a car recently in the grass on the other side of the house, pulled up in the shrubs. So let's not even talk about
He's
non-conforming.
had back surgery.
I hear you,
Can't
but
talk.
again,
Can't
it's
walk.
Rivermont Avenue, it's a historic district. We can't just say, oh, let's take the front wall out and make park in the
I
living room.
didn't tell her,
It's-
I didn't give her permission to do that.
Okay.
And, but I do know she's been in the hospital with back surgery.
Item
I
C
was in the
says
hospital. I
ground
still
pea
work on
gravel,
Rivermont
concrete exposed aggregate. I would move that the asphalt is inappropriate and not approved, and item C, options are available in terms of reinstallation, whether loose gravel or concrete exposed aggregate, as you were talking about earlier.
Is there a second? Is
So-
there a second to that motion?
I second.
Okay, so now we can
For
discuss.
discussion, yes.
I'm still, I don't think there should be a parking spot in front
Yeah.
of
I
any
don't
type.
either. I don't either. It stands out like a sore
It
thumb.
had grown over until it was dug up and paved a few months ago.
There was gravel there.
It had grown over until it was dug up and
It was
paved a few
VPN.
months ago.
As far as I know.
I live across the street, I see it. I know what's there, I know
Used it
who parks
myself.
there, I get it. I'm stating my opinion, I'm referencing the guidelines. Parking should not be in front of the house. Blacktop is not acceptable.
And since, yeah, I mean, it was never, it was definitely used, but it's not original either. I
What do you mean it's not original?
It was done before I ever.
Oh, I understand, but the only access to it is from another person's property, so it could not have been actually original to
Okay,
the house.
let's speak to that for a moment. The parent lot was the neighbor and this lot. This lot was subdivided off of it. Okay? And that parking spot has been there since the inception of the house in 1962.
That was a family that,
I think that's a non-issue. I mean, you can vote your way. Motion's on the floor, Mr. Chairman.
And I think, this is a unique situation here. Because we do have a house that was built in 1962, and it is in the historic district. And we're trying to mesh the two and come out with something that is appropriate for both. It's just been made into a bad situation, not just for the historic aspect of it.
Right.
but
There's a motion on
for
the
us as
floor that
well.
allows it to stay. Let's let that play out and then
Right.
argue.
Yeah, so there is a motion, and a second. Were there further questions, comments? Please.
The motion was to disapprove the asphalt installation, but that alternative materials per item C in the guidelines, that it could be loose pea gravel, brown pea gravel, concrete exposed aggregate is acceptable.
And brick?
Or brick.
As stated, anything in letter C?
Everything in C.
Everything in C. And there was a motion and a second. Any other questions or comments regarding that? Hearing none, we can call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And one opposed. So shows that it passes as,
how long do I have to do all of this?
You have a year to start the work and 2 years to complete it.
You're going to first check with the neighbor.
Yeah, you gotta check with my neighbor.
understood.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know if it helps at all, but make sure that that owner has this information.
I will. And
He's been through the process, he knows it.
he knows a lot.
He didn't go through the process for his asphalt, no, he didn't.
Well, he never told me.
He didn't have to. He had to tell us, but he didn't.
Anyway,
Well, I'm not sure what went
thank you
on.
all.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you, sir. We appreciate it. 2627 Old Forest Road?
He won't be able to attend. He's out of town,
Okay.
but I think he talked.
Yeah, I can speak to it. He's emailed and talked with me several times. If you remember last month, we approved that little shed that was modern and junk to go away, but the well had been driven over, covered over, and we encouraged them to reopen it. They did. They went out with shovels, reopened it. It is right on the property line. There's the fence of their property. So they have reopened the whole of it It is filled there so that you can't fall in it and die. You can step in it and see it. And they have a sign there next to it that explains what it was. So I think it's a very appropriate step back to expose a great piece of history of that property.
Absolutely.
It seems to work in terms of it's still there and it is interpreted. It hasn't been a functioning well in years and years, but it is still there such that a person visiting can see and understand.
Yeah, let it be said that they took our recommendations to heart. I think that's a fantastic interpretation.
Are you here listening to them?
Oh,
Yes.
she's with me. Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
She's listening to all.
I was saying, bring the baby in. I like baby noises. We like baby noises. It's the next generation.
All right, anyone like to make a motion on this?
I'll move approved as submitted.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Very good. That's excellent.
I have a question about this property. Did we know they were going to paint the fence black?
I think they have a choice, didn't we?
Yeah, I think that was in the first
It really
application.
looks strange.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the black or the white. Black is, a lot of those historic horse farms and stuff, the black fence.
You're right.
And that is always the discussion, is it a three rail or a 4 rail?
Yeah.
But yeah, black is,
Yeah, well, it looks strange.
Yeah.
Several people have asked me about it. So.
I'll double check, but I think it was in there.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure, I'm pretty sure it was.
I don't know what it was.
Sean's getting hate mail.
Yeah. I'm not gonna go talk about that black color anymore.
Oh, Brad.
I see there was one more gentleman in the room. Were you in?
I'm the zoning official for the city.
Oh, very good.
Yeah,
Excellent.
we had him
Okay.
in the whole time.
His name is Ben. He
Oh, Ben.
You guys are right about the fence too, by the way. I didn't feel the need to speak up, but
Okay.
you guys have a good handle on it. You're fine.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah.
But, yep. So I think that's everything on the agenda, but I did want to mention next meeting, Tracy and Shanda, you're both reappointed, so congratulations. And then next meeting we'll have elections, take a look at the advocacies, if anybody wants to change, that would be the time to do it. We don't have any new members yet, but we should be getting an application this weekend for someone who's qualified and meets the professional standards, so hopefully council sees fit to appoint them. And then if there are any changes to the bylaws, that would also be the time to take a look at those. But
At the end of last meeting, we had, I guess, discussion about whether the chairman should vote. Did we reach clarity on
so I
that?
did look that up. Because it's such a small commission, the chairman is allowed to vote.
But it doesn't say he should or should not. It's at his discretion?
He shouldn't use his vote to influence others, but he can vote along with everybody else.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
No
And
influence for you.
Yeah. If he doesn't like the way it's going, then he can throw in the deciding vote.
All
Well, no, and he can use his vote to break ties. Yeah, so it's a little bit different for
Only
smaller.
last month used his vote to make a tie.
Right.
Yeah. But, no, you're good. You can keep voting.
Thanks.
dear.
All right.
I left like, crap, that shouldn't have happened. Like, I thought that I made or allowed something to happen that shouldn't.
Oh, no. All right, excellent.
I apologize for my color commentary.
Which you did.
Well done, well done.
No, I think it's helpful to hear that perspective.
Oh, yeah,
Because,
absolutely.
it can encourage discussion that may not have been had
I
before.
mean, as a practicing architect, I work in a lot of historic districts, usually in a downtown area. And I'll be blunt, I always try to push the boundary of color in those areas because so frequently they are so staid and just
Tired.
turn up the volume of
Yeah.
Color within reason, you're right. I mean, if they wanted something
And I
wild.
admit the black was out there.
With yellow?
Yeah, but the yellow is a little, I will agree, I like it much better with the white than the other columns, but.
Yeah, just the yellow door, I think.
It's a little out there, but again, a little funk in the world is good in my humble opinion.
When I'm trying to balance that, speaking for myself, I think, well, would I want to live across the street or next door to that? Not just is it providing diversity or variety, but.
Is it palatable?
Yeah, well, there's the house just up beyond Rivermont from you on the other side, that's all gray, everything is gray.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
The
yeah, yeah.
And, you know, it's unique and it's different and.
It looks okay. The white one we saw today, where she's painting it multiple colors, it doesn't, in my opinion, look good all white.
Yeah.
It needs contrast.
I think it'll jump. And
Right.
It seems like, I don't know, we've not really, walking up the hill from Rivermont Bridge, though, Tony West is doing, is just bump, 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 bump.
Right.
And there's a little bit of variety in there. I don't remember that we've talked, if he submitted colors on all of those as we walked up.
Usually colors can be administratively
Yeah,
approved,
exactly.
but when they're like that one outside of the guidelines, sometimes I'll reach out to the advocate and ask, like I asked you recently, and if the advocate's okay with it, then usually you guys won't see it, but if it's far out there, I'll just put it on the agenda.
Again, if he marched up and did every one of those houses white, it would just be so boring.
Yeah.
But, bumping it to this and that, and, I wouldn't want every house, I didn't drive by that house, I apologize. If every house on the street were dark gray or black, I wouldn't want that. But one to jump out and nudge the neighbor is okay with
Sure.
Well, if we get complaints, I'll send them to Emmett.
Yeah, seriously.
So if we get complaints, I'll send them your way.
Have you seen the periwinkle on Madison Street, 3rd and Madison? It's been there a while, like 6 or 8 years, it's been that color, but it's variety, and some in the neighborhood like it and some don't, but it's cool.
Yeah, I drove by this week, I was in Southside Virginia, headed east in the town of Lawrenceville. It's not a historic district, but there's a 30s bungalow, and oh my God, Becky, it is lime green and pink trim and blue accents, and it's just like, somebody's got to plug that baby in. It's just so loud.
Wow.
I would never vote to approve that, but it is violating so many things. I was driving by, I didn't even see it. My wife was in the car, who's a preservationist as well, and she was like, Emmett, stop! It's like, oh my God. Yeah, so, there's its place.
You have a limit.
I have a limit, and there is its place. Again, I don't think every house on the street doesn't want to be that, but one now and then to
keep it exciting.
To
nudge the neighbors.
To nudge the neighbors is always good. And, I mean, the fellow with the post lamps that we talked about today, we approved that house as blue, and it's a bit darker.
I think it's different than what we saw.
I think it was a little bit different variation than what we
I think if you went by the guidelines in its strict writing, that blue is probably not approved. But
it came out all right.
Yeah, I'm good with it.
Right.
It's not, I wouldn't pay my house that, but
sharp. Yeah,
We
dressed
could
up
get him to
nicely.
replace the OSB over his back porch or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, well,
I thought he was selling it, though. I
Well,
got the impression he was going to live there. It was on the market.
The conversation that I had was that he was, because he put so much money into it, he was asking for a higher price, and the house literally next door sold for $200,000 less, so.
It shot him.
Yeah, I think that's why
I
they
didn't notice the
decided.
sign came down.
That's why they decided to move in, it would be my guess, but.
Yay.
Well, that progress is creeping up the hills.
Yeah. It
is,
Eventually,
for sure.
Eventually,
For sure.
maybe sitting on the gold mine.
Wonderful.
Well, thank you, everybody. Meeting is adjourned. Enjoy your holiday weekend.
And you do it.